Hi everyone, Inclusivity Promtano here, the internet's most inclusive theater nerd, and it's time for a review of the Netflix adaptation of the Broadway musical, The Prom. I just really wanted an excuse to do a spoof of Anthony Fantano's intro. Don't judge me. I'm also ripping off his setup. It's fine. So yes, as you might be able to tell, this is not the Glee video, actually. I changed my mind. So yeah, let's get right into the review. First, I'll start off with the music itself and the cast recording. Wow. I think that this is probably one of the best cast recordings I've ever heard. Like, I think it is probably one of the most interesting just to sit down and listen to. Most musicals, their music is only really good in the context of the show, but with this version of The Prom, I think it actually worked really well as just a soundtrack. The instrumentation is more full, the performances are a little bit better in certain parts, and it's just overall a better experience, more polished sounding. I'm not really going to be comparing the movie to the Broadway musical very much. This is just a review of the movie by itself. Overall, the cast recording is just very memorable. I think the music of the Prom Broadway musical is already so good, and it just takes that and amplifies it because with the bigger budget, star-studded cast, it just makes it 10 times better. The opening number, Changing Lives, and the follow-up, Changing Lives Reprise, are pretty good. I think it's pretty good. It's nothing more. It's nothing too spectacular, but it does set up the whole instrumentation and the tone of the entire film, and I think it's a pretty good start. Then followed by Just Breathe, which I think is one of the better songs in the entire album. It's really nice. It's better in the context of the show, but I think it's really good to listen to on its own. Tracks such as Dance With You, I think, they're just beautiful, honestly. They're not like full-up Make Me Cry songs, but they're just really sweet. Also, very catchy, very pleasing to the ear. They're not super tedious to listen to, like a lot of musical theater can be outside of the context of the show. But no, I think it actually fits really well. Very sweet. The actresses do beautiful performances. I think they're really good. The only problem I really have with the soundtrack and the music itself is the fact that any song that is just Meryl Streep kind of sucks. And it's sad. They get Meryl Streep, and all the songs just are kind of mediocre. They obviously cut some of the songs for time, which... What? There are versions of the songs in the cast recording, which, when translated into the movie, are literally cut. Like, they only sing the first 30 seconds of the acceptance song, which is sad, because the song is... I don't want to say it's good. It's awful, but it's intentionally awful, and it's because of that, which makes it good. Songs like You Happen, which is one of the best songs in the entire show, gets cut after, and that's a promise. Like, what? That's only half of the song. Like, the end is so good. And the song Tonight Belongs to You, which is one of my personal favorite songs in the entire show, they cut. Like, they don't even finish the song. Like, in the original Broadway version, I know I said I'm not going to compare it very much, but this is one of the few times I will. In the Broadway version, they actually end it like a normal song, but in the movie, they do a weird fade out. And I mean, at first, whenever I thought that fade out was whenever she walked into the gym, spoiler alert, to find no one's there, and that would work perfectly. But whenever I rewatched the movie, that's not what happened. They just faded out while they're still dancing, and then a few seconds later, they cut to them pulling up to the school. It doesn't fit, and I think it's a really poor production choice. If they had just ended the song like the original Broadway version with the big finale, because they're still dancing and singing, but it fades out. It's a really weird and jarring transition. If they had just made that the ending, belongs to us, bump, hard cut to them pulling up, that would have been so much better. But whatever, I don't know what happened, and it made it very jarring and not good. As for the rest of the music, very good. It's kind of, for the most part, it's kind of a by-the-numbers Broadway show. I mean, yes. There are some standout moments that differ from the original Broadway show, such as Tonight Belongs to You and It's Time to Dance. The dance breakdowns go from just being, well, normal breakdowns to EDM breakdowns, and it sounds so cool. It fits with the overall aesthetic, which I'll get to later. If you ignore some of those annoying production choices, it's really good. I really enjoyed the music and the cast album a lot. But The Ladies Improving and Zaz cut both of the songs. Why are they in the movie? Like, if they had just cut both of those, maybe not The Ladies Improving, that has a little bit more to do with the story, but if they just cut Zaz, which is just a stupid, bland, by-the-numbers, mediocre, forgettable musical theater song, give it some Zaz. Like, no, it's annoying. Stop. I literally wanted to skip it whenever I watched it. Just replace it with something that has to connect with Simply Love, which is one of the best songs in the entire show, yet they threw it at the end as a post-credit song. Like, it has, they could have done something with that. Like, James Corden's performance on there is beautiful. I cry every time I listen to it. I'm like, at least tear up. I don't really cry. I have no soul. But yeah, if you ignore Zaz and The Ladies Improving, which are both painfully mediocre, even though The Ladies Improving has to do with the story a bit, if you just ignore those two, the entire soundtrack is great. This is one of the only soundtracks that I actually want to go back and listen to. I don't like listening to soundtracks a lot, but this is one of the few that I will. Now that I've talked to you about the soundtrack, I'll go more into the music as I go through the movie and my thoughts on the movie, but as just the soundtrack, it's pretty good. So now the movie itself. There are some glaring issues up front that I want to talk about just to get them out of the way, because there's so much good about the movie, but there are just some painful flaws that if the movie didn't have, it would have been a lot better. First off, the writing in the beginning, I don't know what happened, is cringy. It is very cringy. Some of the dialogue in the beginning is straight up bad. It sounds really bad. And I don't know why, because the dialogue is very, very sharp. The comedy is just... Honestly, I would come back just to watch the banter between the celebrities. I think that is just great. But some of the dialogue just sounds unnatural and cringy. Thankfully, that doesn't really go too far into the show, but it's just some lines in the beginning, I'm like, what? It's very confusing. Also, because of the amount of celebrities that are in the show, sometimes I don't see the character. I don't feel like I'm watching a movie with characters. I feel like I'm watching James Corden, Meryl Streep, and Andrew Rannells in weird situations. Later on, that changes a little bit, but at the beginning, it just feels, they don't feel like characters. They just feel like celebrities, which isn't really due to their performance, but more due to the fact that there's so many of them. Also, the movie suffers from horrible pacing issues. I think that it speeds up, slows down, speeds up, slows down. There are some points wherever it's just like, get interesting, like, ugh. Like Zaz, for instance. The whole Zaz scene, I really wish they cut and just maybe instead of having Zaz, maybe just have a small dialogue, maybe have a small scene, and then have the rest of you happened. Like, I think everyone would like that more. I think during the later act of the show, some parts of the story just don't feel completely fleshed out, like the part with his mom. I feel like they set that up as a big deal, and then they just kind of like, oh, she's here, and she's okay with him now. Like, it's the same thing with the mom character. She's portrayed as this hateful, homophobic person, and then at the end, she's just like, shows up to the prom like, how do you do, fellow kids? Like, they make her out to be like this, like, she like has a breakdown whenever her daughter comes out, and then she just shows up like, yeah. It almost feels like there was something there that was taken out that would make her character a little bit more deep. It just feels very surface level. And I'm kind of sad because they had some serious potential to really make her a good character and have a good character arc, but instead it just feels like a shallow waste of time. Which honestly just makes me sad because there's so much potential in the movie that I feel like they just are so close to following through with and delivering on, but they don't. Barry Glickman's character, the mom character. I also agree that Andrew Rannells' character does not get enough. I also think that Andrew Rannells' character doesn't really get enough attention either. They just feel kind of flat. They're not completely flat, but I do feel like there's a little bit more development that they could have done and that they kind of missed out on. It's like they were so close, but then they just kind of fell flat. But even with all those problems, it still is a wonderful movie. I still very, very much enjoy it. All of the flaws aren't enough to take down the overall core of the film. A lot of the writing decisions feel a little bit shallow. They really do play into the whole caricature of each side, whether that be, we're Hollywood liberals, you bigots, you ignorant bigots, we're the Hollywood libs. We're liberals from Hollywood, and we're gonna show your ignorant homophobic butts what's up. And then you have like the conservative Bible thumping Christians. Like, it's probably intentional, but the two sides, they just seem like such caricatures, and then almost kind of makes the payoff a little bit shallow. But honestly, it's kind of charming because of both sides being the caricatures of actual people. Love thy neighbor, though. I love that. So good. I'm sorry, sir, but we'll have to cut off your hands. That is one of the best numbers in the entire show. That and It's Time to Dance. Overall, I think the story is great. Dude, Unruly Heart makes my heart cry. I cry every time. Every time I've watched that scene or I listen to the song, I just get tears in my eyes. It's just so sweet. I think it's great. It's Time to Dance is one of, if not my favorite musical numbers of all time. Like, it's so good, especially the movie version with the full orchestration. The mixing sounds so much better than the Broadway version. Honestly, side by side, the two soundtracks sound so different. Like, the Netflix movie version is so good that it makes the original Broadway cast sound like it was recorded in a home studio by a 16-year-old producer. Like, that's not dissing the original cast recording. That's just a testament to how sleek and clean the mixing and producing on the movie version is. Honestly, I would listen to the movie version over the original Broadway cast any day, just because it's so much better. I do wish that the 2 original songs that they wrote for the movie weren't just tagged on at the end, probably for Oscar nominations. Simply Love is one of the best songs in the entire show. I just wish that they had thrown that in there to actually have it part of the story, because it sounds like it should be part of the story, but it's not. It's just thrown on at the end. I do find the storyline between the principal and Dee Dee Allen very cute. I think that's really nice. I absolutely love the symbolism of
Alyssa and Emma
not kissing until the very end at the very climax of the song. It just makes it so much better, because it's like symbolism. It's like they're hiding the entire show, and then at the very end they just kiss at the very end, and it just I just want to. That part I was like, yes. Made me very happy. It was great. That is one of the best storytelling moments of the entire show. I'm sure it's the same way in the Broadway version, but man, it just makes it so much more impactful, because it just saves to the very end, and it's really symbolizing them together and being proud and out and everything. It's great. I love it. It makes the movie so good. It makes that moment better than it already is. And of course, the color scheme, everything is just so good. It's so clean feeling. Like, I can dismiss all the kind of crappy writing choices or some less than stellar production choices, because everything else is so clean. It's like, I don't know what the budget on it was, but obviously it was a lot, because you got all the celebrities and everything is just so clean. The color scheme, everything. I'm kind of sad that it only got 53 on Rotten Tomatoes or whatever. Like, understandable. It does have some glaring flaws, but in the end, there are some flaws, pacing issues, some weird editorial decisions, which I wish that they didn't end up going with. But in the end, it didn't really change how much I enjoyed this show. The show is so sweet. I love the message. It makes me cry, like whenever she's in the gym and then she's just standing there crying after Tonight Belongs to You reprise. I'm like, the fact that things similar to that happen to people in real life is just awful. It makes me cry. Like, it just hurts my heart whenever I see that, because I'm like, knowing that some people deal with things like that, just like, it really makes me sad. And I feel like that really just drives home the point of the show. So overall, wonderful. I love it. There are some really glaring issues, but that doesn't really impact my enjoyment of the show too much. I'm feeling a strong 7 to a light 8. Transition. Did you give this movie a watch? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? You're the best. You're the best. I'm not gonna do this. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe. What is it? Don't forget to like and subscribe. Please subscribe and please don't cry. James Thinney Wier Tano. James Wier, The Prom, Netflix adaptation of the Broadway musical. Forever. Why did I do that?